This piece has already been cut down. This is 1/2 inch foam. The rigid polystyrene foam you can get in Canada here. You can get it at Home Depot. It comes in 1/2 inch, 1 inch, comes in various size and lengths. If you do go and buy a piece and it's 8 feet long and it's too hard to get home, just bring an X-Acto knife with you, hack it in half, and now you got two pieces that are 2 by 4 instead of a 2 by 8 foot piece. So again, here these are some of the tools that I use. Not necessarily on this one, but this is where I use my regular saw, which comes in handy for just doing quick cuts. Now this is a little bit overkill because it's such a small piece, but it can go through thick things very quick just to get down to your rough shape. So once you have your rough shape or your rough size of the piece that you want to work on, then you can work down in more into your smaller tools. So for example, here I'll take my felt, and here I'm going to make just this rough circle on it. This is where you can take the keyhole saw now. This is great because you can actually puncture right through and dig out a hole. So for example, if you want to do some damage on something and just put a couple quick holes in it, you can do that. You can also, it's used for cutting drywall, and if you want to do a curve with a smaller blade, you've got a little bit more control on it. So with this, if you want to, I'm just going to hack these corners off here. Now you can see it makes quite the mess. So I always like to keep the vacuum handy and that, but now I'm getting down to my smaller shape that I want to work on. So a couple different things that you can now do is getting into your X-Acto knife if you want to make a more exact cut, for example. So what I like to do is I like to keep my blade nice and sharp. So what I do is I got a sharpening stone, and what I do is I just hold the blade on, angle the blade just a bit, and just give it a rub back and forth on both sides. That way you'll get it nice and sharp, and that way you'll get a lot cleaner cuts, and you have less chance of injury, of hurting yourself if the blade is sharper. You think if it was duller you wouldn't get hurt as bad, but you're more likely to, if it doesn't cut properly, then you're going to probably put more force on it, and you'll actually, by applying more force, more chance of a slip and you cutting yourself. And whether the blade's dull or sharp, you still can get hurt. So now, using our metal ruler, we can use this. Metal ruler is nice compared to a wood ruler because that way you're not going to cut into the wood. So this is where I use my X-Acto knife, and this way if I want to make a detail cut, you can use that. Okay, so now the next thing, so that's for doing your straight cuts, felt for marking, nail as well, that if you want to make a small amount of damage, this is a handy tool to have. That if you want to make bullet holes, it comes in quite handy. You can also use the back of the end of the nail, and you can use this to carve as well too. So you can use this, and you can actually dig in quite easily and chip out the little pieces of foam, just like that. And they're virtually free. So we got that. Now if I wanted to round this out, this is where I take my drywall sponge. So with a couple passes, like so, you can see it's already starting to clean it up quite a bit. So here's our big chunks. A couple passes with the coarse side. And there you go. And it's all sanded. It's still a little bit rough, but as far as you want to take it, you can use that to mold. Now the one nice thing about the sponge is, the sanding sponge, it's basically sandpaper wrapped around a sponge, but it's got this line on it, this corner, and what you can do is you can take your piece of foam and you can actually go on a bit of an angle, go back and forth, and now you can see that you can make a nice indent on it for added detail onto your rock. Okay. Some other techniques that I like to use is that if we are going to make this into, say for example, a rock, what you can do is you can cut it straight across this way, cut down, and then just break it out. Come across and down, and right away you got a couple little stairs. Just that easy, right? We can let's square this up a bit. So let's go straight down and through, straight down and through. Break those guys off. And there's a smaller little section of stairs there. We can give that a quick sand and clean that up if we want to. Okay. We'll hack this off altogether. Okay. So let me start with a nice clean piece here. So now one thing I like to do, if we're going to make this into a rock, for example, what I like to do is just dig my knife in and just start to chip off little pieces, just like so. And just kind of go all the way around the perimeter, and kind of chip off all the little square angles, so it doesn't look like a square rock. It'll go from a brick more to a stone. And don't try to take it all out. Just put the knife in and kind of break them off. Do this side. And there we go. So that's our first little bit. Now I'll do the underside. This is the one nice thing that I really like about foam. And you can get this stuff, you can go to your hardware store and buy a big sheet, but I worked in construction, and quite often on cement buildings, when they build them, they always glue this stuff onto the building where it needs to be insulated or protected from frost or what have you. So there we go. So our piece is now molded on the top and bottom. One nice technique is, you can see this is very flat here. Now, one technique I like to do is just drag my knife across the surface. I keep the knife flat. Bit of a clean off, and if you can see, that makes a nice texture on there. You can paint that, dry brush it, and away you go. Okay.